In the shadows of computer history, long before ransomware attacks, phishing emails, and global cyber warfare, there was a single spark. A spark that would ignite an entire world of digital infection. A single program written not to destroy, but to explore. And yet, it gave birth to one of the most feared forces in the modern age, the computer virus. But who created the first one? And why? Was it an act of genius or an accident that changed programming forever? Tonight, we travel back in time to uncover the story of the world's first computer virus, and we ask the question, what would have happened if that code was never written? To understand the invention of the computer virus, we must first go back to the dawn of personal computing, the late 1970s and early 1980s. A time when computers were just leaving the laboratories of governments and universities and stepping into the homes of hobbyists. It was an age of curiosity. Machines like the Apple II, IBM PCs, and Commodore 64 were being assembled in garages, programmed in bedrooms, and tested by restless young minds. And in 1983, at a seminar at Lehigh University, a graduate student named Fred Cohen introduced a concept that had never been publicly defined before. He wrote a short program that could replicate itself, moving from one file to another, one computer to another, without needing permission. Fred Cohen didn't just demonstrate code, he gave it a name. He called it a computer virus. But Cohen wasn't trying to cause chaos. He was studying security. His work proved a chilling fact, that software could spread like a disease, infecting systems without a trace. But while Fred Cohen gave the concept its name, he wasn't the one who unleashed the first virus into the wild. That story belongs to 1986 in Pakistan. Two brothers, Basit and Amjad Farooq Alvi, who ran a small computer shop in Lahore, created what is now known as the brain virus. It was the world's first PC virus, spreading through floppy disks. Written into the boot sector of diskettes, it would secretly copy itself onto any computer that ran the infected disk. But here's the twist. The Alvi brothers didn't write brain to destroy computers. They claimed it was more like a digital watermark, protection against software piracy. When an infected user discovered the virus, the code displayed the brothers' names, their address, and even their phone number in Pakistan. It was as if the creators had signed their work, an ironic, almost innocent act, considering the fear it would later inspire. So, what could this early virus actually do? The brain virus didn't wipe hard drives, didn't steal data, didn't demand ransom. Instead, it spread silently, stealthily replicating itself from one floppy disk to another. And yet that was enough to terrify the world. Because for the first time, computer owners realized that their machines could be infected, that software was not just a tool, it could be a parasite. From this humble beginning, the arms race began. Security software was created. Antivirus companies were born. And just as quickly, new viruses appeared, more malicious, more destructive. What began as an experiment in self-replication became the foundation of modern cyber threats. But what if the Alvi brothers had never written the brain virus? What if Fred Cohen's demonstration had remained only a classroom theory? Imagine this alternate timeline. Computers spread rapidly in the 1980s and 90s. Floppy disks exchange programs and data across the globe. Businesses, banks, governments, none of them suspect that invisible dangers might lurk in every disk. Without the brain virus as an early warning, antivirus research might have started a decade too late. The first global computer worm, such as the infamous Morris worm of 1988, could have caused chaos on a scale far greater than in our reality. Corporate networks, unprepared and undefended, might have collapsed overnight. The internet, still fragile in its infancy, could have been crippled. And trust in digital technology might have been shaken so deeply that the growth of the online world as we know it could have slowed to a crawl. In this alternate history, maybe e-commerce would not have blossomed in the 1990s. Maybe online banking would have been delayed by years. Maybe the fear of invisible threats would have made ordinary people turn away from the internet altogether. And all because the world never received its early warning, a small, almost harmless virus called brain. In reality, the existence of the first computer virus forced the world to confront an uncomfortable truth. Every technology carries risk. The brain virus of 1986 opened the door to a new industry, cybersecurity. Companies like McAfee and Symantec rose in response to the growing fear of infection. Programmers began designing antivirus software. Governments started funding research into digital security. And coders everywhere learned an important lesson. Once code is released into the wild, its consequences can never be fully controlled. The story of the first computer virus is not just about two brothers in Pakistan or a graduate student in the United States. It is a story about the dual nature of programming itself. Every line of code can build or destroy. Every invention can empower or endanger. As programmers today, we live in the shadow of that lesson. When we create new tools, whether in artificial intelligence, machine learning, or quantum computing, we must ask ourselves, what are the unintended consequences? What happens when curiosity collides with reality? Because, like a virus, an idea, once released, cannot be contained. The first virus was not written to harm, and yet it changed the world forever. But this is only the beginning of the story. Because if the first virus was a warning, what happens when the code itself begins to fight back? The future may be closer than we think.